so today we are here because we have devised a master list that's going to make you the most loved nurse on the opposite shift, okay? So if you follow these tips of ours, we guarantee that all of the nurses, whether you're a night nurse that's going into the day shift or your day shift that's going into the night shift, everyone will love coming behind you, okay? So let's jump into them.
So first, oh my gosh, this is a pet peeve of mine. Do not put the saline bag on 1,000 milliliters. Put it at least at 950. That way, they have some time and the line doesn't run dry.
Yeah.
If you have time to like switch out the bag without having to change out all of the IV tubing, oh my gosh. And if the bag is empty, go ahead and hang a new bag. That's one less thing to worry about when the next shift comes on, because they're already trying to get their assessments together, get everything together, get familiar with the patients. An IV bag is just one less thing to have to worry about. Yeah. That's such a pet peeve.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing, give the meds that are due at shift change, especially if you have time. Now, if your shift is running crazy, of course, you know you can't necessarily go overboard. But you know we have like that hour window that we can give meds, an hour before and an hour after. So if you have a little bit extra time, then why not go ahead and give the med that's going to be due, you know, right at the start of the shift to prevent the next nurse from having to run as soon as she's getting started.
Yes, absolutely. I always do that because I just think that that's just common decency, common courtesy.
Yeah,
it just helps out so much.
Nice to do.
Make sure that all the meds that are needed for the night shift are there. It's hard enough getting meds during the day, but just at night shift, it's like 10 times harder. Yeah. So if you know, oh hey, this med is going to be due, or you use the last of like Zofran or something, go ahead and request some more. That's going to make a huge difference. And the patient doesn't have to wait hours to get the medication that they need, especially with PRN meds.
Yeah.
So that makes a huge difference.
And then if you know it's something where like the night shift handed it off to you and she's like, here's an extra one, I requested it early because it takes them a while, it's special made or something like that, then go ahead and do that for the next nurse.
Exactly.
Like pass it on, you know. Oh, well, the nurse that gave me this patient said that this was a difficult med, so I requested it for you, so it should be coming pretty soon.
Exactly.
You know, just things like that. Oh, make sure that all of your input and output has been adequately documented, and that it's appropriate and everything makes sense and adds up. So a big way that the doctors are monitoring their patient's progression is knowing exactly what their input and output is. So it's helpful for them, it's helpful for the next shift, so that the nurse can know, okay, well they only put out 30, why all of a sudden are they putting out 300? This is alarming, and I need to let the doctor at least be informed about it. So definitely want to make sure that your input and output, especially when it comes to things like post-surgical patients or patients who have like Foley catheters, you know, because you can always, okay, well, is there an obstruction somewhere? Do we need to get like an ultrasound? Do we need to do a bladder scan? Like, so you definitely want to make sure that you're proactive in that way.
And that goes into the next one with calling the MD for any concerns. If something has been bothering you or bothering the patient, don't just pass it off and then you're like, oh well, my shift is over. Then that leaves the next nurse to have to deal with that. So go ahead and contact the doctor and just make sure you get everything taken care of before your shift ends, because it may be a problem that the night shift doesn't even know about. And then it just makes it a big mess. So just get it all taken care of before you leave.
Right. And then it's helpful also because everyone knows that like it's difficult, it's a little more difficult to get a hold of doctors at night. And then you know, you understand we all have lives, we all have families, so if you can like go ahead and call the doctor or catch him when you see him while he's there rounding and prevent the next nurse from having to like wake him up in the middle of the night for an issue that you already knew existed all day, then why not? You know, why not just be helpful? And it helps everyone. It helps the night nurse, it helps the patient, it helps the physician, and I'm sure his wife or her husband would appreciate that as well. Okay. So if you have a patient that's on tube feeding, be sure that you do not let that get all the way down to the bottom of the bag before you're requesting the next bag. Sometimes it has to come from difficult places, and you just want to make sure that your patient has the food that they need, right? So if you are hungry, you will want your food to get there on time, just like your other patients, you know? So just definitely, if you know you have a patient that's on tube feeding and you know it's going to run out on your shift, just go ahead and, you know, put the request in there so that it's ready.
I like to make sure there's enough for like the entire night shift, and then the next shift, it seems like they pass it on. So if you just make sure you have enough for your shift, and the next shift make sure there's enough for the other shift, so it just all works out better that way.
Yeah, especially if like you're going to be leaving for the night and you're coming back the next day, that's going to help you as well, because you know, if the night nurse already has what she needs, especially if you get enough for yourself. So if you're like, can you go ahead and send me 2 bags, like it's a patient that you know is going to be on it for a while, so it's not really a waste, Like, go ahead and send me a couple bags, and that way she can rehang another bag at the end of her shift, and then I don't have to go straight into getting ready for that as soon as I get here in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, give pain medication if it's requested. So many times I come on and the patient's like, oh honey, I've been in pain for an hour and my pain meds were due 2 hours ago. And that just puts me in a difficult situation because it's harder to get their pain level back down, and then it starts off like, instead of having time to see all of my patients, I'm having to scurry around and see when the last pain meds were due and what to give her, and it just puts the whole day off. So if your patient is asking for pain meds, go ahead and give it before shift change, because you know it's going to take some time to get report from all of the nurses and to actually go in and see your patient.
And that can get really difficult, especially if it's multiple patients at one time that are having pain, because you know you still have to assess them. You can't just go in and like give them pain medication. You still have to like get their vital signs, make sure everything's okay. You have to assess their pain to figure out what pain medication that they need off of their electronic record. So you know it's a process, and you don't want the patient to feel like you're just like letting them sit there in pain.
Exactly.
Because that's not a good feeling. And you know, whether or not like you truly feel like the patient is in pain or not, it's not for you to judge. What the patient says is pain is what pain is for them. So check the patency of your IV. Please don't let your patient go all day telling you that their arm hurts, their IV hurts, it's itching, it's red, and you know that like, oh my god, that means I may have to start an IV.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that. Even if you're not that good at them, you could always grab a coworker. You can always grab like the bomb nurse that everyone calls for the IVs. If she's busy, you can ask the charge nurse. If she's busy, try again later. Most hospitals, most hospitals have like a team that you can consult for difficult sticks. And you know, you can always usually grab a nurse from the ICU. Usually they love doing that because it's like fun for them to find difficult IVs. But if nothing else, even if none of that works out, at least be able to say, I tried this, and this. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to get a new IV. And 9 times out of 10 the nurse will understand, and maybe somebody on her shift can help out.
Exactly. Okay? Exactly. And not just the IV tubing.
That's our next thing. Make sure that all of the lines and tubes on your patient are like patent and working properly. Make sure that their Foley catheter is not kinked. Make sure that their PEG tube is not clogged. Their NG tube is working properly. Make sure if it's supposed to be set to suction, it's set to suction. Make sure that if they have a PICC line, it's not like clogged to the point where you need to let the physician know they may need to get like some medication on board to kind of declot that. So you know, you just want to be proactive in checking out your patient and making sure everything is good to go before you go for the night. As much as you can, at least. Of course, everybody knows that like we have those days that just get crazy, and maybe you're like, I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to double check all of my lines. And then at least let the next nurse know so that she knows, okay, well, one of my first things I need to do is check the lines. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, any issues or changes with the patient, make sure that they have been addressed, because sometimes they're like, oh, this patient hasn't urinated in hours, or this patient's labs were kind of funky all of a sudden. Make sure you let the physician know what's going on, and you don't just like pass it off to the next shift. Because one, they may not even know the entire story. You're able to talk to the physician and you're able to address the issue, so that if something happens later on, you can say that, oh, well, this issue was notified, the doctor was notified of this issue.
Right.
So it's good to always, any changes with the patient, make sure the doctor is aware of it.
Yes, for sure. That brings us to the last tip that we have. So be sure that you let the oncoming nurse know of any pending things that you have going on with the patient, just so that they can follow up and ensure that everything gets completed. Nursing is a 24-hour job. We all work together to get the things done that need to be done. So I hung the blood for the patient. I'm now waiting for my results for the CBC to determine whether or not the physician wants to hang the next bag or not. I'm going to let the nurse know, okay, you should be expecting a CBC soon, because that will determine what you need to do afterwards. So you just want to make sure you do things like that, especially if important things. If it's like, all right, the patient is on a heparin drip, I requested a PTT to be drawn, so you need to be expecting that. Like if it's not here within the next hour, you need to be like, you know, getting on the phone, figuring out what's going on, where's lab, you know, just to continue the continuity of care, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And all these things will help your shift as well as the next shift run like very smoothly. And then, you know, who knows, if you keep doing the steps that you're doing, other people may think, oh wow, like that really works for her, let me adapt some of that as well. And then again, like we stress, we know that no shift is always perfect, so you may not necessarily be able to get all of these things done, but the important things you definitely should be able to hit on, like making sure that you know, the oncoming nurse knows of any labs, making sure that you have called the physician for any immediate issues that are going on with the patient, because that's very important, you know, things like that. So just want to be sure that you do all that you can do, and again, I guarantee these tips will have everyone smiling to get your list.